All right, next stop is the stomach. And the stomach really has two major functions. The stomach's there for holding food for hours, so a storage unit, because what will happen is you eat breakfast, and if you eat the right breakfast, something like an egg and some oatmeal, the oatmeal will sit for so long in your stomach, slowly breaking down and releasing sugars into your system, that it'll make you feel full and content for about 4 hours. So if you eat an 8 o'clock breakfast, around noon, you're hungry for your lunch. But if you eat something that's already highly processed and breaks down really quick, like a bowl of Fruit Loops or candy-like cereal, that's going to break down really quick into the sugars, give you a really good boost of energy fast, but then it's going to make you crash really fast too. So within an hour or so, you're feeling hungry and you're feeling sluggish and you're not thinking clearly and you're struggling your way through food. So understanding how the stomach works is really important for actually getting energy delivery throughout the day. So your stomach has the same 4 layers as everything else. The first layer is called the mucosa, and it secretes mucus and enzymes. The enzymes released in your stomach are really important because they help break down food, specifically proteins, into little tiny particles so you can absorb them. Another important enzyme is actually another important chemical is hydrochloric acid, and it's what we refer to as a stomach acid. Hydrochloric acid is a very powerful acid. The strongest acids are a 1 on the pH scale. Your blood is a 7. Hydrochloric acid is about a 2. So it sits very close to one of the strongest acids, and you make this in your stomach. If you were to release your stomach contents onto your own skin, you'd actually just start digesting your own skin. It's pretty intense. But your stomach has ways of protecting itself too, so it releases bases to control that. Okay? That's the first layer of the stomach. The second layer is the submucosa, and the submucosa is full of blood vessels. There's nothing absorbed in the stomach except aspirin and some waters. That's it. You don't absorb nutrients in the stomach at all. It's mainly for storage and then breakdown. So your stomach will sit and churn. It's almost like if you take a Ziploc bag and you put whatever you ate for breakfast into your Ziploc bag, squeeze the air out, and then just smash and smash and smash. How long would it take you to turn that into a paste? It's about the consistency of baby food, because that's what your stomach does. So once you have this baby food material, then you can pass it on to the small intestines. But to smash it so powerfully, you actually have to have a muscularis layer, the third layer, that has 3 layers of muscle. So everywhere else in the GI tract has 2, but here you have 3. So if you look, if you look, you have 1 layer here, 1 layer here, and 1 layer here. So you have a circular layer like we saw in the esophagus. You have a longitudinal layer going the length of the stomach, but you also have an oblique layer. So if the longitudinal sits this way and the circular sits this way, the oblique actually sits where my thumb is here at an angle, right? So you can twist the food and propel it equally. And then the last layer is the serosa, or the wrapper around the outside. Let's go ahead and take a peek at the different layers by grabbing your microscope, slide number 15. Okay. Stomach, secretory. So here we're looking at the area of the stomach that's doing the secreting of enzymes. Stages all the way down. Your objective is on the scanning, the red one. Put it in. Perfect. Let's see what we have. Nice. Landed it. So what you're looking at is something like these bumpy ridges, right? These bumpy ridges aren't the same as we saw in the esophagus. The esophagus were more like folds without the bumps. Here, we actually have rugae, which are big folds. So when your stomach expands, it has a nice smooth layer, but as you process the food and your stomach shrinks down, watch my fingers, here's where it's connected, they fold in, and those folds are called rugae. They're not for absorption, they're there to help stretch and hold more content. So when you go to that Chinese buffet, and you eat and eat and eat and eat and eat, you stretch out to a smooth stomach, and then as you process and digest, it squeezes back down and in. Here we can see these little bumps that go in. See them? Let's see if we can look a little bit closer at them. Let's go ahead and go up to our 100 times magnification. There we go. Let's move back around until we find, there they are. And I slid right back out of them. Okay? So this clear area up here is the lumen. That's the hollow center. Anytime you hear the word lumen, it means the hollow center of an organ. If it's a blood vessel, it's the inside of the tube. If it's your stomach, it's the part where the food sits. So food would sit here and then touch this pink wall, which is your mucosa layer. The mucosa layer will secrete enzymes, like I said, and mucus. It has gastric pits. Gastric means stomach. Okay, so what we're seeing here are pits at an angle. So the outside of the pit would be here, and as it comes down, you're kind of seeing the angle of it. You can see parts of how deep they go across here. But remember, when you slice on a microscope, it doesn't always slice perfect. If I wanted to slice across my fingers, I would know, straight down, right? But sometimes they slice and it's kind of sideways. So you have to use your imagination to see these tubes called gastric pits. Right, let's go a little bit deeper. Right below those gastric pits, here's bottom rugae, is the submucosa. See it changing? So the mucosa, remember, is epithelial cells. The epithelial cells are the protective covering. Now we have the submucosa. And the first thing we find here is a blood vessel. There's my blood vessel. So we have a lot of connective tissue around the outside, and then the blood vessel, if you look at it, it actually has epithelial cells. It's a covering, just like we saw up above, smaller. So let's see if I can go in a little bit closer and find that same blood vessel. That's where it gets tricky. Look at all those cells in the nuclei. I just had, there we go. You can see a lot of those nuclei. Let's see if I can find. Oh. Right, here's my submucosa. I feel like I just saw the edge of a blood vessel. Sure I did. Whoops. There it is. There's my blood vessel. See it? It's kind of like a flat tube. So if you imagine the straw, looking down the straw, and you squish it a little bit, here you have the outer layers coming around. In fact, you can see a couple of these little bumps here. There's a bump, there's a bump, there's a bump. See how it looks kind of hollow in the center? And there are some pieces of them too. Those are red blood cells inside. So now you can see the red blood cells sitting in there. Here's the outer tube, red blood cells. And remember, you can use the red blood cells as a measuring stick. Let's go back. Yeah, we're back at 400. Or, I'm sorry, 100 magnification. There's the blood vessel we were just looking at. So remember, this is the submucosa. In the submucosa, you can really see the difference in layers. Here's the epithelium, the mucosa. You can see that basement membrane that glues it on or holds it. Here you can see all this connective tissue. There's a blood vessel. And now we're getting to the next layer, the muscularis. Right? So here we can see some muscles kind of going diagonal a little bit. Go down a little bit lower. Kind of transition. Lots of them. Super muscular. Then we go out here to the serosa. I thought I just saw another blood vessel. I did. There's another blood vessel. Oops. So here's an interesting thing to look at. Let's zoom in on that one too. See what we see. Those are fat cells. Fat cells are identified because by this. It looks like a big cell that's really hollow, and then you've got a little nucleus smashed in the corner. Because this is all fat absorbed in here. Fat doesn't like anything else, so it pushes all the contents to the corner. So a fat cell looks kind of like a diamond ring. You got a ring here and a little diamond on the top. But we're going down looking for that blood vessel, so let's go just a little lower. Ooh, there's a blood vessel. It's not the one we were looking for, but there it is. Or maybe it was the one we were looking for. Here you can see the red blood cells on the inside. And there you can see the epithelial cells. So you can see some scattered red blood cells. Here's some red blood cells. Pretty cool. So your task is to see if you can find the 4 layers. I just walked through them in my slides. See if you can find them and actually put them in a drawing in your notepad. And then we'll be back in the next organ.